Lost Ark Artillerist Guide. What's up, Saviors? GH here. This is gonna be an Artillerist guide that focuses on PvE, that's more into fighting bosses. And with that said, let's not waste any more time. Let's do this. Artillerist. It's a ranged class that can use a launcher and can deploy a bombardment platform that can deal a decent amount of damage and stagger. And with the use of skills and proper class engravings, it will have high crit rate, decent survivability, and is the defense reduction class. And aside that, an artillerist can also take advantage of his firepower specialty, which is basically a meter that fills up as you hit enemies. And depending on the meter, you get extra damage to enemies, or according to this description, damage to foes plus 10%. That's just level 1. At level 2, it's 20% damage to foes. And when you reach level 3, firepower enhancement, you get a 30% damage to foes. But it only lasts 20 seconds. And this red orb right here will shine. That's the indicator that you can use your barrage or bombardment, which will have its own unique abilities. You can improve your firepower buff by using your class engraving called Firepower Enhancement. And now that we're talking about the engraving part, here is the engravings that you should use. First is of course Firepower Enhancement. If you equip this, you get 20% less damage on all levels. And depending on the level of your class engraving, the more crit rate you will get. This is already useful at level 1, but if you have low crit rate, it's best that you max it out because the additional crit rate that you get here is straight out percent. Like for example, the maximum crit rate you get at level 3 Firepower Enhancement engraving is 40%, assuming you maxed out your firepower buff. That 40% crit rate is direct. It doesn't need the crit rate stat. You will get pure 40% crit rate even though you don't have crit rate as a stat. This is why it's your main engraving even at level 1. Now, the second engraving is Keen Blunt Weapon. At level 3, it gives you 50% crit damage, but there's a chance that you deal 20% less damage. Now, don't worry about the 20% less damage because it hardly happens. It's negligible. So this would be perfect because you will most likely have high crit rate, therefore you can take advantage of the 50% extra crit damage. Next engraving is Adrenaline. At level 3, every time you attack with a skill, you get 1 stack, and each stack adds 1% attack power and it goes up to 6 stacks. So 6% attack power. And at maximum stacks, if you can maintain it, you get 15% more crit rate. It's straight up 15%. Not 15% of your crit rate, straight up 15%. So even if you have 0 crit rate, you still get 15% base crit rate if you can maintain the 6 stacks of Adrenaline, which is pretty easy to do. So that's your early engraving right there. Firepower Enhancement could be level 1 or up to 3. Then Keen Blunt Weapon at level 3 and then Adrenaline level 3. Now you can try to use Grudge to get more damage, but you will also receive more damage. Or you can use Curse Doll, which will increase your attack but will lessen your healing. Only use Curse Doll or Grudge if you have no choice. Now, if your item level is getting higher, getting stronger, then just add Grudge and Curse Doll. And it would look like this. Now, stats. My recommended stat is mainly Swiftness, then Crit Rate. Put all your stats in Swiftness, then the rest is Crit Rate. You can try to go Specialization and Swiftness, which is basically called the Barrage build, but your engravings will change with it. Because you're gonna have to add Barrage Enhancement level 3, which will increase your barrage skill damage. I don't recommend going Specialization Swiftness because there's a lot of drawbacks with the Barrage build at the moment. Like the damage isn't really that great and you're stuck on the spot, which will put you in danger. And if you haven't noticed, mobility is very important in this game because a lot of mechanics requires you to move around. You can use dodge to exit out of the bombardment platform or use a time stop potion, but those are not always there to help you. I do acknowledge that it's fun, so try it. We play to have fun anyway. Now that we're done with the engravings and stats, now skills. We're gonna start from the top. We're only gonna discuss the important skills. If you have any questions on a skill not mentioned here, please comment down below. And the first skill is Napalm Shot. This is not exactly mandatory. It's optional because this is your stagger skill. It inflicts the highest amount of stagger, but the damage isn't that great. But you can use this to counter, so this depends on the situation. If you need more stagger, then use this. And make sure at level 4, use Target Focus as an augment. Then at level 7, pick the Crit Rate augment. And at level 10, pick Chain Explosion. You can take away points from this skill just in case you don't have enough skill points because at base, napalm shot is good enough for stagger and counter. For the runes, use overwhelm for more stagger damage. Next skill is multiple rocket launcher. You can use this for damage and stagger. This can generate a lot of damage and stagger. And at level 4, you pick flame rocket for more damage. And at level 7, you pick quick barrage for more damage. And at level 10, access denied for, of course, more damage. And as for the rune, use Gale Wind. It will help it cast faster. Or you can use Overwhelm for more stagger damage and Bleed Rune for extra damage. Any of those runes will work. Next skill is Flamethrower. Use this to gain firepower meter quickly. This is not for the damage. It's for gaining firepower so that you get buffs. And at level 4, get firepower control for more firepower gained. And at level 7, it's debatable but I use shielding here for survivability. And at level 10, it's Azure Flame because you gain more firepower meter here quickly. And as for the rune, use the Wet Rune for increased firepower gained. Next skill is Air Raid. Use this for damage, that's it. At level 4, use Quick Fire to lessen the delay. And at level 7, pick Flame Barrage if you're confident of your crit rate. Or Lightning Barrage if you're not. And at level 10, the big one for damage. Now, this next skill is optional and it's Jump Barrage. This deals around half of what Air Raid can do. So if you're looking for more damage, you might want to check this one out. And if you decide to use this, here is the skill build. And next ability is Summon Turret. Now this skill is for debuffing and gathering firepower buff. With the proper skill augments, it can actually outmatch Flamethrower in one full use. But you don't maximize the firepower gained here. Because to do that, you're gonna have to sacrifice the defense debuff, which I don't recommend. So the skill augments are at level 4 is Armor Reduction. This is the physical and magic defense debuff. And at level 7, Enhanced Turret for more damage. And at level 10, it's Big Pack. Because the more turrets you have, the more firepower you gain. As for the rune, you can use Wealth, Rage Rune, or Bleed Rune. Any of those 3 will work. Next skill is Forward Barrage. You can use this because of decent damage, fast cooldown, and it can be used to counter and gather a decent amount of firepower meter. So at level 4, you pick Firepower Control. And at level 7, you pick Enhanced Barrage or Keen Strike if you're confident about your crit rate. And level up the skill augment, of course. And at level 10, pick Focused Barrage because Dancing Explosion extra hits miss a lot. But if you feel like you can make Dancing Explosion hit all 100%, go with Dancing Explosion. For me, it's Focused Barrage because it's more controllable and it's just one grace and it will deal all the damage. As for the runes, Rage or Quick Recharge will work fine here. The next skill is Homing Barrage. It's your strongest damaging skill if it hits. Yeah, it will miss a lot. At level 4, pick Guiding Enhancement so that it will do damage quickly. And at level 7, pick Weak Point Detection for increased damage against bosses. Because Push Immune is just another word for boss enemies. And at level 10, if you're confident of your crit, pick EMP. And if not, use the other one, Power. As for the rune, use Gale Wind or Bleed. And the last skill is optional for me, but you may find this useful, and it's Energy Field. It's your push immunity and shield buff. So the skill augments are at level 4, use Field Release for a bit of damage. And at level 7, use Energy Increase. And at level 10 is Solid Shield so that nobody pushes you around. As for the Awakening, use Heavy Turret because it will deal more damage. Now, skill usage. Always start with Summon Turret because you want enemies to have lower defense first. Then if you have Energy Field, use it next. Then Homing Barrage and Air Raid, and the rest is up to you. Now if you're going to stagger, always start with Napalm Shot. Then follow it with Multiple Rocket Launcher. If that combo is not enough, use Flamethrower next. For the Barrage, it's always good to start with Howitzer because it will lower the defense of enemies. Then follow it up with any skill you want. As for the cards, if you're in the early parts of the game, use cards with damage reduction for bosses and elements. And if you can afford, of course, go for the Lost Wind Clef for crit rate. And that's it guys, this is Gaming Hardcore. See you in the next one.